That's the live signal.
And we're live. Welcome back to another. Is that B hard enough for you?
Back.
Welcome back to
Thankfully,
another.
you have a pop filter.
Exactly. To another episode of Den of Thieves, the 100 Thieves League of Legends podcast.
We're glad to have you back.
We're glad to be back.
I'm Cole.
I'm Jordan.
And this is what we do.
This is what we do.
And typically, we need to apologize really quick because we've been aiming for a Sunday night at 8:30 Central weekly pod, but we have landed for the past 3 weeks on Monday at that time. Now that is just completely how the circumstances have fallen. We plan fully on returning to Sunday nights going forward.
Yep. I'd say from this day on, I'm good.
Yeah, just random stuff's been happening, including the birth of my child, which happened 2 days ago.
Yay!
But I'm back on the pod, baby.
Hey, he's back. You're back at your home. I'm hoping that
home.
Everybody's home from the hospital. You didn't just step out.
No, yeah. I will say I was watching the Sunday action and the Saturday action a little bit from the hospital room with my wee babe. So
well, and for our listeners who don't yet have kids, one of the things that is hardest is just sitting in the hospital in those early days. So I'm guessing it was a welcome distraction.
Yeah, I'm glad to have some 100 Thieves action to watch while I was doing that. So,
and it was some good action.
It sure started really well. I
mean, it was good action in the sense that it was incredibly entertaining.
That's right.
The outcome, it was like I had this brief flashback to the way I felt after the FlyQuest game, where it was just like, oh no. So yeah, that's a feeling that we're becoming a little bit more familiar with than maybe we would like to be. But we'll have time to get to that one.
Yeah. Let's start with Echo Fox, though.
This was what's that line? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
That's right.
Is that an episode title for us? But really, I think we had the best game of our split in that we completely obliterated Echo Fox.
We cooked him.
We cooked him good.
It was bad.
And then, there's a lot I want to talk about in how, because I feel like you play League with me. You describe me as tilt proof. I kind of feel like I'm a little bit that way with our team too. And that, like, especially with the FlyQuest game, I maintained a very positive outlook. And even with the TL loss, right? We were kind of like, I mean, there were some things there that were good.
It's a thing.
Yeah. We lost. It's fine. So I don't want us to get to the point where we're just fanboys. I think, honest criticism is helpful for everybody, including the players, or not, including the fans. We're not players. So anyway, that's just, we lost. It sucked. It was a bummer. But again, I do kind of feel like there were things that went pretty well. This game, though, I do feel like was us straying a bit more from our game plan, which is a bit concerning.
And you're still referring to TSM at this point,
right? The TSM game.
Yeah, with the Baron especially.
With the Baron. And I know I was thinking exactly back to what you said. And I was like, this is so uncharacteristic. What is happening here?
Yeah. Well, I think there's some things that we can look at, but
we certainly can, and we will.
Can we do? Let's do it in the form of a very long compliment sandwich, where we start off with something good, i.e., the Echo Fox game.
Yes.
Then we talk about the not so great, the TSM.
The crap sandwich in the middle.
The crap sandwich in the middle, and then we'll end on some nicer notes after that. So
positive things.
I'll run the draft against Echo Fox. So someday. Took Cho'Gath, Mighty Cho'Gath, and on Poppy, the surprise pick of the day. Ryu on Zoe. Love me some Ryu on Zoe. Cody Sun took Zaya, Naframu took Rakan, which is not something you want to give us. On the other side, Huni took Mundo, Dardoch on Lee Sin, Demonte, Yasuo, Lost on Swain, and Smoothie on the Venerable Alistar.
This was kind of like a joke draft, I call it, where you give all of your opposing team's strongest picks to them, and draft for yourself a bunch of weird pocket picks. So if we were doing an Echo Fox podcast, we would be talking about how this was an experiment that went poorly, very, very poorly. Not a good game plan going in for them on this.
I did want to point out, like, I don't know if you noticed, but again, we got this same 3 first round bans, right? Morgana, Nocturne, and Aatrox. Like, that's what people have been doing to us.
Which is, yeah, and I think last week you talked about, like, what is it that we don't know about Morgana?
Yeah,
like, what are they seeing in scrims that they're so afraid of? Like, yeah, just let's break that down a bit. They're banning Morgana over Rakan, or I think that's the more common ban if you're going to try to break up the duo.
Sure, and yeah, so not only is it about the duo, but Aframu has proven to be an amazing Rakan player, and guess what? So did Anda. You remember, like, earlier on, Anda was
his debut game for us was on Rakan.
So I don't really know what that's all about. Again, there must be something happening in scrims that we're not seeing. But
when was the last time
those 3 bans came out again?
Yeah, when was the last time we saw either Ryu or Afro on Morgana? Have we seen that at all this split? I don't think we have.
I think I want to say Afro took Morgana once. But
yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure. But not to dwell on it. I just think, like,
it's weird.
If we have really been figured out by people and they think that they need to take these 3 bans from us, it's not going well typically for those who do.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'd be much better served banning Rakan or Zoe against us. Now, but they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. And I will say about the Lee Sin, like, I've been seeing a lot more noise about Lee Sin playing recently, both at pro level, both in solo queue. It's something that, we thought we were going to start seeing a little bit more, and sure enough, we did. It just looks like Dardoch maybe wasn't quite ready to pull that pick out.
Well, and then as you mentioned earlier, Poppy, I think, really threw him off and messed him up in a big way. So that's a whole separate topic, but there was somebody else over the weekend who played Lee Sin and just absolutely went off. Like, the highlight reel from the match was basically just Lee Sin plays. I can't remember who it is, and I'm not going to try to remember, but yeah, he was playing up against a Kindred, right? And so he just kicked people out of the circle. Like, it was a nightmare for them. He was doing, he was just jumping all over the place, flashing in, deleting people instantly. So you can see the strength of the champion for sure, but didn't have the team comp, I think, to prop that player up. Yeah, which worked to our advantage.
Yeah, it definitely worked to our advantage. I mean, Dardoch finished 0-5-3 on Lee Sin, which is not what you want to see when you take that sort of pick.
No, it's not. That's anybody you get that stat line on, you're gonna really think twice about playing them again.
But it begs the question. It begs the question, though. How much of that was Anda putting on a jungle clinic? Because honestly, we saw a lot from him in this round.
And it wasn't just the team fights, right? Like, his ult is designed in a way that would really disrupt a lot of their combos they'd be trying to pull off. He started off just completely outplaying him. It was so cool to watch.
Stealing camps left and right. Yeah.
I mean, do we have a trend going? I mean, okay. So think back to last week, right? It was the worst professional jungle game for Xmithy that people had ever seen. And I'm not exaggerating there. That's what they said. And now this week, fast forward a week, and you have Anda completely dominating in the early game. I mean, just it was almost the same kind of thing where he'd kind of just run around. Like, he'd walk up to his chickens and be like, where's my camp? So hats off to Anda, man. That guy's playing incredibly well, and it's been surprising. Not that I didn't think he was going to do all. It's just I think he's playing the jungle in ways that we don't typically see people play it. He's being super smart, being aggressive, getting in, making smart invades. Like, I think he's arrived, and we're starting to get a sense of what kind of a player he is. I think that, or at least I am.
Yeah, I mean, there's some counterpoint to that. I mean, I don't fully agree with you on all of that because I think Anda has shown some weakness, in, most notably last week against Team Liquid. I guess that's two weekends ago.
Yeah.
He had a really bad game against Team Liquid. It just did not work out well for him.
Wait, Liquid, the one where he started off?
Yeah, I mean, after you got to think about what happened after that beginning, right?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff did not go well for him.
True.
Which, we can talk a little bit more about the heist, but a second look back at that jungling performance, as Probably was pointing out, a lot of the neutral objective stuff was not going the right way.
Yep.
So there is that to point out. Now, I have been an Anda supporter since this has started. I've felt like he earned a spot on the team and he's done well. So I don't want to completely take a dump on what you're saying because I largely agree. All I'm saying is there have been times where it has not worked out well.
That's fair.
After the whole reason I bring that up is because coming off the heels of what happened with Team Liquid, for him to have this game is really important.
I think the whole game is really important for everybody.
Yeah. Well, especially for him though, because he got that amazing start against Liquid and then blew it from there, and just had to totally play, from behind after level 7, which was kind of insane. So,
yeah. I mean, he gave up. He gave up a lot. He gained a lot and he gave up a lot.
Yeah, and I think going back and reanalyzing that game did a lot to tell us more about that. Now, that being said, his Poppy in this game was pretty awesome.
It was.
And I did not. I mean, we talked about his stealing camps from Lee Sin early on. He also earned them a first blood when he ganked Huni up top around 10 minutes. He got a really nice kill when they collapsed 4 men onto mid, taking out Demonte. He had some great plays with Poppy that just, instead of being this gigantic question mark that we had to worry about the whole game, it was a really solid foundation to what we were doing.
Yeah. I think he's I'll say a couple things about Anda. I don't know if this is just a reflection of my own kind of general ignorance on what constitutes a deep champion pool, but I feel like we've seen him pull out a number of different champions this split that I wasn't expecting to see, Poppy being one of them. So it may be kind of premature for me to say that he's got a deep champion pool, but I do feel like with some players, there are players on other teams who play a specific type of champion, and that's it, right? There are players who play only tanks, players who play only marksmen, of course. But Poppy, he played a super tanky Poppy, and he did it really well. And he basically played a tank. And we've seen him play a support, right? Very supportive play style with engage and setting things up. So I think based on my limited time watching people, I feel like he's shown some versatility early. And this was a side that I hadn't seen before that I thought was really cool because it fit into our team really well. And between him and Cho'Gath, we had quite a formidable front line.
Plus, it's one more thing that other teams have to worry about as we get to the end of the regular season when we're trying to lock in playoff seeds. And when you're talking about going forward into the playoffs, you have to worry, is this going to be the Poppy game?
Right.
Do we have to worry about that? If he has one more strong Poppy game, it's going to be a point of focus, for some teams, which would you have imagined that being the case when the Meteos trade first went down, that Anda would have something that teams really had to account for,
right?
come playoffs. It's awesome.
And we talked about that too, that's, I think overall, one of the major contributing factors to the strength of a team is how many different things there are that you have to account for. Exactly like you said. So we've kind of ticked through those over the course of this split, right? That one of the things that's super hard to prepare for us because of is just how many different people can really break open a game in the different ways they can. We're a very multi-dimensional team in that, and we've shown that. We've won as many games with funnel as we have with standard. I think we reacted probably the best of anybody in NA to the meta changes. Once we locked into funnel and stopped kind of messing around with mage bottom and stuff.
A little rocky at the beginning, but
quite rocky at the beginning. But that was us just finding what worked for us. So there's another broader topic here that I'll kind of test your interest in getting into, but there's been a lot of talk kind of just in the different channels in the last week, 10 days on NA and our inability to really counterpick. And the casters talked about that in this one specifically, I think it was post-game lobby, where they were talking about the Mundo pick from Echo Fox, and how that was such a cop-out, right? They knew what they were playing into, and they just went Mundo, and it really did them no favors. I mean, Mundo was completely neutralized in this game. But as much as you can make that point about NA, Anda showed that we have counterpicking ability, right? Poppy is exactly that. So my hope is that we continue to break those kind of picks out, because I think that's what will start to separate us more and more over time from the rest of NA.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope we can do something to break away, because right now it's really muddy at the top, and then it's even muddier in the middle. But suffice it to say, very happy with the way everything played out in this game. And even one of my notes is anyone left questioning the media straight?
Right. Are you out there? If you're out there, let us know.
Exactly. We're riding high off of this one. I mean, did you have any other things from this game in particular that you wanted to point out to?
I have a note here that Tank Anda is very good.
As we mentioned.
Oh, one thing I'll call out is we had a really an excellent bit of early game playmaking. We've talked about the need to do this. We had a 4-man roam. I think it was in the first 10 minutes, maybe somewhere around there. We just all stacked up in the bush and boom, made a play, and it resulted. So I loved seeing that. I think we need to see more of that. I went back and watched that fight and really broke it down, and it was nothing big. It's just the lanes kind of split off. The Echo Fox players went up into their jungles, and we just kind of marched up the river and stopped. We cleared out their pink ward and then just kind of hung out. And that was devastating for them because there was no escape on that one.
Are you talking about when Ryu threw the sleepy bubble over to the bush behind Baron, or? No,
it was just in mid lane.
Gotcha.
Cody and Afro strolled up. Anda was already up there. And so it was Ryu in lane, and suddenly there were 4 members of our team hanging out.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. And so, I mean, that's good that you point that out, because it was not only that, but there was that fight I was thinking of. Mm-hmm. It was around, I think my notes say it was around 19 minutes into that game, where we had just a really, really, really nice team fight, and it took. We had an initiation from Ryu, got a sleepy trouble bubble up to the bush behind Baron, and kind of started things off. And I don't think we were really ready for the way that they jumped on that engage. But everybody was really coordinated in the way that they reacted to it, which was the craziest thing. And for me, the culmination of this fight was Lee Sin came flying in. Trying to get killed, but he was. I think it may have been a Cody Sun.
It was
dodge with his ult.
That he hit perfect timing on the ult.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was that or if that was Anda interrupting, but either way, I mean, it was a beautiful reaction to that dive from Lee Sin, which neutralized his play, and then we got a kill on him, and everything just kind of dissipated from there for them. Mm-hmm. And it just looked like we really were in sync, and everybody was doing the right thing at the right time. And it's, when we have that synergy, we're really hard to beat. And so is it just a mental thing at this point? I mean, we're going to get into that a little bit later, but that's
I think
my question.
I think my short answer, and then we can transition to the next game. My short answer is I think this represents our maximal team comp. Like we everything worked so well together. I think when we're on our comfort picks, which is why this is a horrible idea to let us get these picks, everything is very second nature. People know exactly what we're capable of. Poppy was a surprise in this, and that Poppy fit perfectly into kind of our team fighting, and the example you gave is a great one. I mean, the TSM fight, I think, shows shows that as well. Like you look at the draft for that, and I won't get into it too much, but it's just completely different. And so, yeah, I definitely like the one I had is I thought it was like the perfect team fight. You know, it's Afro opening with the charm and the knock up. Lee Sin gets feasted like as soon as he touches the ground, basically. So he's gone. Then Smoothie tries to headbutt into two people who flash at the same instant that he headbutts. So then he's just standing in the middle of the river with nothing to do, and he gets destroyed. Yasuo pops his ult. Afro's there to knock him up, and that's an ace, right? It's just, or maybe that one wasn't an ace, but that's devastating. That's 3 players down. It was 4.
It was just insane to watch Afro make those plays. Like, again, this is something I've alluded to early in the podcast, but there was a time during this split where I felt like Afro kind of lost his groove a little bit, but man, he is looking so great. And it is so fun to watch him flash into there and drop the Rakan ult, because it doesn't make sense how he gets to everybody. It seems like he always gets to at least 4 people with that ult.
Yeah, it's devastating.
Amazing. It's beautiful. And man, it's hard to beat.
It is. It's a thing of beauty. Unlike, in my opinion, his Alistair play in next game.
Well,
we can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and transit. Let's transition
right
into TSM. Okay. So first things first. So Someday took Dr. Mundo, and it was on Kindred, which we've seen before. Ryu on Ariana, which is fine. Cody Sun took Ashe, so maybe he's got a little bit of Doublelift in his mind. As you said, Aframu took Alistar. On the other side, Hanser took Gragas, which proved fatal at a key moment at the end of the game. Grig on Nocturne, Bjergsen on Zillion, which was the very interesting pick here in this game for me. Sven on Varus, and Mithy took Braum. So that's how we shook out there. What do you? I mean, you brought up Aframu's Alistar. What are you thinking there?
So the thing that kept recurring, my recurring observation was he was trying to set up plays, as he does, but he kept trying to do it. And again, like fully admitting that this may just be me not being that aware of how good Alistar is played, but he kept sitting in a bush, pretty well removed from the rest of our team, trying to get an engage separate from everyone else. It's almost like their constant team fight approach was, we got to bait him in, and then Afro's going to hit an engage, headbutt, and then we'll blow him up. And it worked until, and I didn't notice all of them. The ones I noticed were the ones where it just didn't work. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you contrast that to the Rakan, and I know they're completely different style, but the Rakan, it just seems like such a free-flowing, like he is unstoppable. It's an inevitability that he's going to get into your team and charm everybody on your team. And with Alistair, it was just like, my sense was he's going to hide on the bush and hope that somebody like walks by in a bad spot, bad positioning, and then he would engage on them. It just didn't seem nearly as effective.
I feel like I definitely remembered a couple of examples where the headbutt attempts really fell flat and it just did not look clean.
Yeah.
But I will still attempt to change your mind with the final stat line, which was 2, 4, and 12 from him.
That's a lot of assists.
That's a lot of assists. In fact, that's a game high amount of assists.
Yeah.
So something was working.
Something was working. And it's one of those where, so just looking at the game overall, right? Like an incredibly gritty performance again. We should have and could have lost that game on a number of different occasions, and we didn't. And at one point, I think we were actually on the front foot. So again, like we are a hard team to beat, man. Like people work to beat us if they're going to beat us. But it's one of those where in a game like that, I think what people remember is the play that ends it, right? It's like you were as good as you could have been for, I don't know how long the game was, 45 minutes, and then it kind of unwound. And then one fight goes the wrong way, or one play is in the wrong spot, and the other 12 assists that you had kind of pale.
Yeah, well, and honestly, it went that way for TSM too. I mean, there were times, again, I was watching this in the hospital with my newborn waiting to be discharged, and I kept pointing out times to my wife where I thought we had lost or we had won, you know, and so it went both ways, and we had no business being back in that game,
right?
Until we got, you know, a team fight around mid, like somewhere around 23 minutes into the game. So we were pretty much getting beat badly for half the game, and through some amazing like stopwatches or zonias, we were able to just win this ridiculous team fight, and get control around Baron, which obviously is a priority for us. And we tried to like stall it out from there. And we, like you said, we did get ahead a little bit after that. Like it was a little bit back and forth.
Yeah. But there was a time when they had gotten the Baron. I think we killed maybe 3 of them. And then we went and got Elder. And, you know, it was easy to forget they had the Baron buff that whole time. They had it on 1 member. And it was a negative 4,200 gold swing for TSM.
Yeah.
So it's
like the exact opposite of what you expect out of a Baron power play.
Yeah. So I think that's what I mean when I say, you know, it's hard for me to look at this team and look at that game and just be pissed and feel like, man, we completely blew it. It's like people get blown out, right? Like League is a pretty unforgiving game where if you get 1 or 2 people snowballing, if you get 2 people snowballing, you're in real trouble. But it's, you know, at the skill levels that these people have, it's not that uncommon for games to end pretty spectacularly in under 30 minutes. Echo Fox yesterday, as an example. So
yeah, like some of the changes that they made this season made it easier to snowball.
Yeah, right. Like towers are weaker. Things have fewer hit points. Now they took out Banner of Command. That helped a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like I have a hard time looking at a game like this, even when it's against the TSM that everybody thinks sucks. I take Prawley's side on this, where I say they have enough talent on that team that give them a good game, and they're going to play as good as anyone else. So I don't know. You know, like there's a lot of stuff that we could have done differently, but like we stuck in it, and we, even when we should have lost, right? They got Baron. We swung it into our favor. We were up gold at that point. Yeah.
So we'd be remiss if we didn't mention a couple of our players who did really well. And I actually want to start with Cody Sun.
Yeah.
His final line was 4-1-10 on the Ash. And he actually looked pretty great for most of that time. Just as we mentioned with Doublelift last week, he was getting off great hawk shots that really saved him a couple of times. And then he seemed to have this second sense on crystal arrows in this game, which ended up being a big deal. Not to mention they got some really crazy style points on their pick on Hanser.
Oh my gosh!
Did you see that when Afro headbutted him into the crystal arrow?
Yeah, that's so good.
That was awesome, man.
So
that needs to be on a highlight reel.
Oh yeah, I think they did that twice. That combo. I had never seen that before, but it got me super hyped.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch.
Yeah. So okay, I'll walk back some of it. I mean, yeah, it's not fair to say that Afro is garbage. And I hope that didn't come across that I was saying that, but those were slick plays, dude.
They were. There was I feel like Cody also had a crystal arrow up on top that kind of kept us in the game.
He did. He got that. He landed it on Sven.
On Sven, yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So, you know, there were a couple times where, you know, actually that's the note I had from this game. I think at some point during this game, literally every one of our players had a critical good play that either kept us in the game or put us ahead.
Yep.
Like literally everybody did, whether it was Cody Sun doing that.
Yeah.
Whether it was some days like 1v4 that he decided to take and just start birthing. Like, dude, that, you know, that stuff started to happen. And
Stoneplate Mundo is out of control.
It is really hard to deal with.
I mean, yeah, you are 100% right. And I had the Baron play that was completely bonkers.
Yeah, where he ulted for the that was sick. And even though we did, I don't think we got Baron off of that, but that's the thing that earned us all of the kills. It was like, yes. I think we killed 4, like you said.
Yeah.
There. So, you know, everybody on the team made a play at some moment that was critical.
Yeah. I know there's at least one Orianna shockwave that pretty much melted their team and swung it in our favor. So yeah,
so something that Aframu had said is that he wanted to get someday a pop-off game to firmly place someday into contention for MVP. So
yeah,
was this game enough for you? He finished 5-2-7, and I would argue that even though they lost, and even though that's a good stat line, I think he played better than the stat line showed.
I would agree. Yeah, it's hard to. They were looking at the damage on the champions at the end of the game, and Sven had like 70,000, 40,000 more than else. And he's like, well, he was playing against Someday, and he was just pouring damage into Someday the entire game,
and it did not matter.
And he managed to get 2 kills or 2 deaths, and I don't know how many of those were from Sven, but I think for Someday, he's got to be he's squarely in the conversation. My concern is that I feel like there are the games that he has. Some of his best games have been games that we haven't won. And so I wonder if they're going to look at somebody on a team who, like Cloud. I wouldn't. This is my prediction. They're going to give to
Licorice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I think it's a bummer because I think Someday is. I'm biased, but I think he is the best player in the league. This split, nobody's had an answer to him. I think the best that people did on him was the 0-0-0 game. And that was just like, they managed to not have him be the primary deciding factor.
Right. He came out at PH7 for one game. And, it's like when Andre Iguodala got the finals MVP because he held LeBron to almost a triple-double. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's essentially what you're doing on Someday, which... Yeah, I mean, I guess the 0-0-0 doesn't look sexy in the end, but
it doesn't.
Yeah.
But so, yeah,
we've still got some time.
We do. 2 games left.
So overall, though, this TSM game. I mean, at the beginning, you said you don't take it to be this devastating thing, even though it feels bad to lose, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't really feel it was that bad. Like, how do you justify that versus someone on Reddit who is very, very upset that we dropped this game?
So here are kind of my final thoughts. We had Kindred, Alistair, Ash, Orianna, Mundo. And I thought about this, right? Is this one of our experiment games? We've got playoffs locked. We're kind of trying out new comps. I don't know if that's the case. I don't think it is. I don't get the sense that probably would do that. He's all about clean play, right? He wants to go into playoffs strong. Seeding is not locked. We could still fall all the way down the table and still make playoffs. But, so I don't think that's what happened. But it is a very unusual draft for us. So it's my sense is it's either that TSM did some things in draft that put us in a tough spot, right? They did ban Rakan. They broke up Zyra Khan. We banned Zoe, strangely enough. So we broke the Zoe streak ourselves. But I think my final thought on it is it's a game that I think we could have and should have probably lost in much different fashion. And the fact that we held on and we made it as close as it was is just a testament to the quality overall and the fact that we're not a team who gets beat easily no matter what. Hold me to those words when we get to TL in the finals.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I'm thinking. Because in my mind, I guess I share a lot of the same thoughts. But is that me being a fanboy is my biggest question. Because are we just making excuses for when we don't play well? Like, are we lauding our grit when we get beat?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, as it stands right now, right, we are second. And there is some more spread on the table now. Like, CLG, Golden Guardians, they're back at 5-11. And we're at 10-6.
Yeah.
That is a big difference between second place and the end. Unlike, 2-3 weeks ago when everybody was really clustered within a game or two of each other.
Yeah.
So clearly we've done enough to to stand out in some way, to at least prove that we're a top third team, right? A top third of the region. Having said that, I am concerned about the slow play at times, and I get the feeling that come playoffs, we won't be able to get away with as many wins as that we would otherwise, where we just rely on our shot calling and getting Baron at an opportune time. So I am a little nervous about that, I will say.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Right. And, talking about the different things you have to take into account playing against us. I think we win in a very similar way. Right. So we come at it in different ways. We have different players who can kind of step up and provide that dynamic kind of playmaking. But if you can count on us being a team who is just going to kind of drag things out and then hit the Baron, our team's going to be able to start preparing for that. And I think that's harder to prepare for, right? Or else everybody would just do it. Like, oh, just don't lose Baron. Okay. Well, and then if you can just stop them from knocking down your Nexus too, you're going to win every game. So that's easy enough, right?
Sure, but I mean, when you get to playoffs and you're playing a 5-game series, you can adapt.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I do think that becomes a problem if that's the only way that we're going to win.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the Echo, I think, kind of wrap this one up and then the whole weekend. I think the Echo Fox game shows that I think that was us at our best. We won quickly and decisively, and we really blew it open. And that might be in part due to some bad play from Echo Fox, but again, we were forcing mistakes and we grounded out. And I think TSM is probably us at our worst. Like, I think we, I don't see us losing games in spectacular fashion like that. So I think this really is us. Like, and I think us at our worst is us, not drafting well, not having a kind of a comprehensive plan in our draft, not playing to our strengths as much as we need to. I think that's what I'd be worried about us getting hit with in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say is that I do have faith in Prawley that we will have a good showing. Like, I don't think we're going to flame out early by any means. So I think we've earned our spot where we are. I think we are somewhere around a third place in the region team. And I don't see us really falling beyond that. I don't see us getting surprised early, unless maybe we get, unluckily seeded against Cloud9 or something.
That was my exact thought.
The way that the playoffs shake out, because that is a little scary right now.
Yeah, we play them this weekend, and that will be a really important game.
It will.
Preview.
Yep.
I mean,
okay.
And that one also has implications in my mind on, the head-to-head matchup between Licorice and Someday. That'll give you a sense on who is.
We can have a duel, an old-fashioned duel. We're going to settle this the Wild Wild West way.
Just set them both in top lane, and junglers make an oath that they're not going to go up and interfere. Just a straight-up 1v1.
1v1. Best
1v1
man wins.
Bro. Yeah.
Best man wins, man. I am totally down for that. If I had a media vote, I would cast it based on the results of this. I am Angela from The Office. I will respect the results of the duel. Okay, you want to go to the heist?
Let's do the heist.
Let's do the heist. Oh, man. I absolutely loved the opening with Doublelift. Yeah. Saying we're boring. Them, like, whoever was interviewing him was really trying to, like, drag something out. And he was like, yeah, well, what about Aframu? And he's like, no,
yeah,
I don't really care. They're a boring team. And, he just totally shot down anything about the rivalry.
Yeah, I think he said we were quiet, unassuming, and boring.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to address this in both ways, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the quiet and boring thing, but I first want to revisit a little bit of our Big Brother conversation that we had.
Yeah.
Because I think I sorted it out in my mind since we last spoke about this. And seeing that interview again really reminded me of how that felt.
Well, and there was more of this interview. I think we saw part of this last time. Was it in the Heist? It was.
Definitely. I think it was in the Heist. They had that quote specifically.
Going into the weekend.
Going into the weekend.
And then coming out of the weekend.
It was right there waiting for us again.
Yeah.
So this is what I compared it to. Like I dug into my own history as a sports fan to find out why this felt so familiar. And not that many people who are listening to this are going to fully comprehend this, but to me, it's like the rivalry or supposed rivalry between the University of Illinois and Northwestern in sports.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So these are two teams in Illinois competing for the territory, competing for the recruits, which through all history was completely one-sided, right? It was Illinois would just beat up on Northwestern basketball and football all the time until the last 10 years or so, right?
Yep.
Northwestern always tried to make this huge rivalry game. Every time they'd play us, it'd be like their homecoming game. And yeah, we're going to beat them and they're trash. They'd try and like trash talk, and Illinois is not even paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And it was never actually a rivalry until the tables turn.
Yep.
And that's what this is to me. Team Liquid has a perfect record against 100 Thieves. Okay. They've never dropped a game to 100 Thieves.
Is that right?
Now, who knows what's going on in scrims, but when it counts, they have not dropped a game to 100 Thieves. And 100 Thieves has not been a shabby team. They just own us mentally. And this thing, the way that it was portrayed in the Heist, which actually really, I mean, I liked it. I liked having Nate Shot talk about the rivalry. I like them revisiting this and really trying to make it a thing where it's like, yeah, no, like 100 Thieves Team Liquid, that's a big deal. We need things to be a big deal. Yeah. We need the fans to get into this kind of game. I mean, I agree with that, but it's not truly a rivalry until people start, winning on both sides. I saw something crazy like in the past couple years talking about like I think it was Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears rivalry, which goes back to like, the Ice Age when football was first invented or whatever. And like through a couple of years ago, it was like dead even. Like the rivalry was at 500.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's how real rivalries work.
Right.
This ain't that. It ain't. I want it to be really bad.
There are rivalries that are one-sided though. And I think, here's what I think. There are rivalries that are one-sided when you look at the actual on the field or on the computer or in the Rift results. Like EPL, right? There are teams in the EPL who are not even close. And here's what I think it is. Those teams who always beat the other team, they feel like it's a rivalry when things get nasty, right? And when it's scrappy. And when you know that they're going to come out and play their hardest, and when they're fired up, and when so you started talking about Northwestern, right? But if you're on the field and you're going in hard tackles, right? Or you're getting so I kind of over the weekend, I saw something I hadn't seen before. And again, I'm going to forget what game it was. Somebody played Draven, and he was chasing somebody down, and the guy had no escape, right? And the Draven just started dancing. He just stopped chasing him. He just started dancing. And I think he's still chasing down and got him. But it was this most beautiful moment where I was like, oh, I think that's the first BM I've seen in NALCS. And it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it's like, you want to be respectful and but to a certain degree, it's also kind of like, yeah, you should dance when you've just pulled off a play that's so insane that your team is now going to win the game, right?
Okay, but let me counter you in a couple ways, please. Because I disagree. First of all, that's amazing, and I want to watch it.
Go watch that, yeah. I'll try to remember who it was.
I'd love to see it. But here's the thing. I think, and I think even probably said something about this in that long conversation in the Heist about the game that the team had amongst themselves, that maybe they were trying to kill chase, just trying to find a way to kill a Doublelift, which is, I think, that would be an indication of, there's something more to this game. Right. But it's still only one-sided. Doublelift talks trash out of the game. But guess what? He does that to literally everybody.
Right.
It's not personal with 100 Thieves. It's just the way Doublelift is. So it's still a one-sided thing where like they are, Afro and Cody Sun are going to try and get their kills off or whatever, but until it actually works, Doublelift doesn't even care. And here's the other thing, because here another analogy back to my sports life, which maybe you can remember some of these games because you and I played soccer in high school together.
Yeah, I was going to go to swimming with you. That's my next move.
Well, no, I was going to go to soccer, but because we were at like a regular public school, and then we had Uni High, which was like the nerd school, right?
Yeah.
And the nerd school had their rivalry against us that was totally one-sided, that we cared nothing about.
That's
and
true.
they played insane against us. It was always their best game of the season was against us.
Yeah.
And we would always barely win it, but we never lost it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they would be like trying to injure people, and they again, they made it their homecoming game because pity for them, they do not have a football team. Yeah. There was stuff there, but we didn't feel it at all on our side. It was a nuisance. It was like swatting away the mosquito that keeps biting you over and over again, but it's just a mosquito.
So then, okay. So you've given 2 examples of another team thinking that you are a team they have a rivalry with and you not really caring.
Not until they beat you.
Let me flip it on you, because I think this is an important thought experiment. You will also remember that we had kind of a big brother school in the Champaign schools. And like it or not, we didn't beat them very often. And we would get incredibly hyped. We made shirts. We recorded songs just to pump ourselves up. And I know you remember this. And we won't sing it now. But that's kind of what I'm getting at. You could ask them, and they'd probably say, "Oh yeah. When they came over, we knew that was going to be an easy match, so we were pretty happy about it, And here we are, like on the bus, in the locker room, like pumping each other up, singing songs. So I think a little bit to have a rivalry, you have to first get in the mindset of we have to care more than they do, because that is Big Brother, and we have to show them that they do have reason to take this game seriously. And going back to your first one, until they started winning, they never would have started winning if all their players went in that game and just said like, man, we never beat them. It's not going to happen. They're too good. It's a bigger school, more resources, better players.
That's true. That's true.
Until they got us.
But we
have to do that. 100 Thieves has to do that. We have to get into the mindset.
Hey, I agree with you on that. Yeah, that's why I'm saying I like the attitude that Nate Shot took about it.
Right.
The way it was portrayed, because I agree with that. Like, we have to get in the mindset to beat them. But let me remind you, we never beat that team in high school. They didn't care about us, and they sent like 3 swimmers to the Olympics in like 8 years.
Right.
Whereas
true.
I'm not sure we've ever beat them, nor will we ever beat them. And they're like the same exact school as us, like 3 miles away. So it's
yeah.
So I don't know.
If it were to happen,
we have to play it like we can win. Yes. And we have to do whatever is necessary to get it into our heads that we're going to beat them. And maybe we need to like do the college football thing and get specific jerseys for this game. Have some specific theme jerseys for like the Liquid game. And maybe it's not overt. Like maybe it's not like, oh yeah, these are the like Liquid jerseys or whatever. Like,
dude, here's a suggestion. We need to get a freaking Stone Plate Mundo trophy. Like, that is the trophy that we need. Some days Mundo from the TSM game is the trophy that we all need and deserve. That guy was insane.
Yeah.
But it's him. It was 1v4. Like, what better trophy to have?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got off on that a lot harder than I thought we would. But
it's what I've been thinking about a lot. Because when you watch the heist, when you watch after they lose, when you watch going into the games, and we don't see it, right? What we see is just a very narrow slice. But I'm wondering, is that like, where is that? And like, if you and me were playing in these games and we pulled off some of the plays that they pulled off, we would go crazy. We would be so hyped.
And that brings us back to the other side of this coin that Doublelift was talking about.
Yes.
You know? And for, well, let me back up first and say, yes, Team Liquid is going to be the thorn in our side until we get the monkey off our back. Like that's the mountain we have to climb and we need to climb it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So yes, to the other side of what Doublelift was saying when he called us quiet and boring and non-reactive or whatever else he said.
Unassuming, I think.
Yeah, unassuming. He brought up the thing that I brought up on the pod.
Yes.
About how much energy Nadeshot gives out to this team, especially around that one scene, around the jerseys. And they were just like not reacting at all. And I love our guys, man. I love our guys. I really do.
Right. But and they play with swagger.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, maybe this is the difference between league players and like Call of Duty players. You know what I mean? Like there is a different energy about this esport than some of the other ones, you know, and this is not like an all insane, like stand up and scream, unless maybe you're in Brazil. So it's just not that way, but I would absolutely love it to be.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. And I think with us kind of being newer to the scene, certainly relative to some people, I think that is us noticing something that other people have probably been like, well, yeah, that's kind of how
the way it is.
Yeah. And why do you want it to be like something else, something it's not? I mean, that's just the way these players are.
Because it's fun.
And I think Doublelift is onto something interesting here. I mean, don't you want, like, look at other sports, look at other esports. Don't you want the people who are the best and who you're following to be as excited as you are? I think is kind of what it comes like when you see somebody getting hyped, it gets you hyped, especially if it's somebody you follow and you know, and you're like, dude, Afro was so happy. Or it's like, can you imagine if someday like stood up after his 1v4 and just like stared over at the other right? Yeah,
I would lose my mind.
You would lose your mind. It would be one of the best fan moments. It would be the best fan moment of your entire time watching this team.
Yeah.
I don't know that he'll ever do that, right? And you know, that's probably more.
Yes, someday we'll
somebody's a quiet dude.
Well, but he's quiet, but he is confident.
He is.
We've been seeing in interviews how he's very overtly saying he thinks he's the best player in NALCS. But
right, just a little look over. That's what creates a rivalry. That's what creates a rivalry.
Well, as far as that sort of thing goes, you have to say Doublelift owns the space in NA, right?
He does, and that's, I commend him for honestly for challenging other players to get hyped. Like, you want rivalries, and Nadeshot said it. It's time to get loud. Like, yeah, it is time to. I think he's right. Yeah. I think whether or not you like that's who you are, or kind of how you've played, like, give it a shot.
Yeah, rivalries are definitely made not only in the field of play, but off as well. And so there's, you know, I just the personality of the players that we have, and I think the players in general that play League of Legends, it's a lot to ask on that. So there's only one Doublelift in NA right now. Who knows? Maybe that'll change over time.
And there are other ways to do that than being disrespectful. Even if, you know, like, there's a degree of disrespect that's considered acceptable within sports, right?
Right.
And it varies from sport to sport, right? In baseball, if you flip your bat, somebody's going to throw a baseball at your head at 100 miles an hour the next time you're at bat. So, like, it varies. What I'm saying is I think it would be really cool, not if, like, I don't want our players to start trash talking and stuff if that's not who they are, but it would be great to see them get as excited as we all are to see what they're accomplishing, right?
We can only hope, man. We can only hope.
Nadeshot, keep giving the pep talk to him.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of which, that was one of the things I loved the most about this Heist episode was seeing him back again. Now, I've said, I'm on record with this saying he tells the story so well. He makes you care about the organization in a way that no one else does. And so having him back just for that interview, was amazing. Like he could be like a good version of Mark Cuban, where he's an owner, but he's very like involved and visible, and creates an energy for the team.
By good, you mean like alignment, right? Like
yeah.
I love it. He seems like a good dude.
He could be that kind of person for sure, especially as a gamer himself, but I loved having him there. Though it appears to me that the only reason, well, not the only reason, but a lot of the reason they had him in there was to do the merch tees, which was not an accident. I mean, they've got him being interviewed in the team office with the like 4 hoodie mock-ups on the paper behind him. Like not even subtle, you know what I mean? And it's fine. Like create the hype, man. I'm all for it. I'm like down. I will like pause every frame of the whole video and see if they like snuck in a frame that's like, on August 29th, this is about to drop,
Right.
I love that sort of thing. But I'm just saying, like, there's definitely an ulterior motive to have him appearing on the heist, which there doesn't need to be, man. Just let him tell the story.
Just let him do his thing.
Holy cow.
You could tell it was like recorded over the period of probably 10 minutes. That's all it takes. That's all you need. 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Again, I don't think we had a chance to really mention this last podcast, but the actual editing and production of the videos is so fun to watch. It's so great. Those speed edits they did through games last week.
Was it Clutch? No.
Yeah, it might have been Clutch game. But yeah, so not this past heist, but the one before that. Man, those were awesome to watch. And in this one, they did a bunch of like pretty slick stuff too, with some of like the hip shooting that they did. And
hats off to that crew, man. They do such good work.
Yeah, they do great work. And that is a lot of the reason why I really like what 100 Thieves is, and that's great. So my one other big thing, I think a lot of people probably thought this episode was really weird, but it was one of my favorites so far. Like I love to have so much of that post-game conversation on tape. I mean, those in traditional sports, like post-game moments, whether they're good or bad, are generally pretty sacred.
Yeah.
And the doors are not really open for a lot of that stuff. But we got like a rare glimpse into how the team talks to each other after the loss and how Prawley works after a loss. And I loved hearing that conversation. I love to hear Ryu saying things, even if Prawley really had to like pull it out of him. It was still like nice to hear him talking. Nice to hear Anda get a couple comments in there. Prawley in there holding people accountable.
Yeah.
And talking about like that's a lot of the reason why I went back and looked a little closer at Anda's performance against Liquid because of some of the things that Prawley was saying in that video. It was just like a really interesting insight into the team that you don't really get a lot of. And even in the heist, when they've had some of these post-game conversations, it's never been that direct and intimate.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And, what you were just saying kind of got me to think about something that we're both thinking about, I can tell, which is kind of what is our role as a supporter of this organization, the team. And I think we do have a different role to play, which is, I think fans, I'm not talking about you and me, but I think fans compared to coach. And I think a lot of people get it mixed up and they want to be the coach, right? And they want to say, Anda was so bad. You got to bench him. He's a disaster. Bring Levi in. What are you doing? We have the benefit of being able to watch this team and any team with a longer range mindset. So we can think about like when we talk about what is the ambition of this team, where are they going, what are they aspiring to? We know that this team has their eye on Worlds, right? And that they are thinking about what they need to do as a team to get to Worlds. And I think that informs a lot. So I think it informs the Medios trade. I think it has to do with Riccara Brandini and Levi coming in. Like, I think that's all part of it, right? And so in the moment, you can look at that and you say, what a stupid decision. What is Probably doing? Why is he bringing these people in? Why is he selling, like trading people? So what we can do is we can look at it and say, TSM game, that's a bummer. that game, it would have been great to win that game. It feels like we should have won that game, and a lot of times we kind of let it go. Probably's job is to look at that and do exactly what he did in that video, which is he has to break down every individual failure and say, how do we not do that again? Right.
Yeah. And he said, like, the exact words were, this is a job, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're wasting the loss if you don't break it down that way and talk about how to improve, how to not repeat the mistakes, and what you're learning in the process, instead of just being like mad about it or just even sad about it. Right. Yeah. Like, he's trying to teach that lesson.
Mm-hmm. And that's his job.
And that's his job. And
unless you do that, you don't get to the long range plan of making worlds and performing.
Right. Now, that's not to say it's easy to sit there and like talk about your loss when you lose something. Like, being a player in that situation, especially losing a game kind of badly, like, you do not want to sit there and like relive it,
recount it.
Like, competitive people really want to win.
And these guys really are all competitive.
And they're competitors. They're used to being the best. They're used to winning all the time, So to get to this level, and now now you're no longer like big fish in the small pond. Everybody's competitive. Everybody's used to winning. Yeah. So there's not, it's going to be a rare thing to see someone who really takes the loss well. Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me, but that's why I'm glad Probably's in there saying what he's saying, because you need to hear that as a player. You need to hear that.
Right. So yeah, it's been a super interesting split. A lot of the stuff we've talked about, I feel like we're getting glimpses at through the Heist, through interviews. And, we've talked about Probably and his role in the team. We've talked about Afro and his role. And I feel like we're getting a sense for more of that. And we talked about Ryu. And so we're learning more about the team in a way that I think is really neat. And I do have a lot of confidence. And I think that's why it's easier for me to look at a game like this and say, yeah, it sucks. But I have confidence. And Nate Schott kind of said the same thing. I've got confidence they're going to do what they need to learn from this and move on. And it's not one of those games where I'm like, man, the team just fell apart. Like, everybody is clearly, they're not in the right mental space. Like, you can tell when a team is not right. And this team's right. I still, like, loss or not, I think the team is in a good spot.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right, though. It's all about worlds. And if we position ourselves, I think we have to get like 4th place, I think it is, to go to worlds, to guarantee we don't have to go through the gauntlet or whatever.
Oh, I wanted to look that up. Is it 4th overall?
Something like that. I don't know. But I think we're in position. I think it's, I think we're in the right spot. But that brings us to our first ever Twitter question.
Yes, it does. Perfect.
So praise be to Corrigan at KienTran310 for submitting the question for us to talk on the pod, which was a good one.
Yeah.
He says, what would the roster be for Worlds? Each team could have 2 sub players. So who do you think it's going to be?
Well, I think our starting 5 is our starting 5.
Correct. Agreed.
We can all agree on that. So the question is then subs. And
I've got my answer. Do you want to hear it?
I do want to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I hate to bring it up again, but it's got to be Levi first, right? Like, Levi has to be there. He is somebody who's had success internationally.
Yep.
He's someone who clearly is skilled. We know he's not doing as great as we thought he would in Academy, but I still think with like playing at Worlds, by all reports, is way different than playing elsewhere, right? Playing international competition is just different. So you need people who have been there before. So I think Levi's like a definite yes, which means, of course, that you have to have a domestic player as your other sub. And I think it should be Rikara. You look at like, who do you have a problem with of the domestic players on our team, right? So that's going to be Aframu. You ain't taking out Aframu.
He's the heart of the team.
Anda, who's spoken for, right?
Yep.
So Rikara, man, if Cody's son has some sort of mental thing. Like I was trying to pull stats for this ahead of this pod, but Cody's son has struggled against Doublelift, right? Specifically, like Doublelift always outperforms Cody's son by a healthy margin. There seems to be something mental there. So if you have those situations where you're going to be against, competition where maybe someone's going to show some cracks a little bit, that's who you need to back up. And Rikara, I think, is the best domestic player in that position. Brandini didn't work out really well at Riff Rivals, as we know. And we love the guy, there's nothing personal there, but it just, it doesn't really work. And do you really want to have him in for Someday? I don't think so. I think Someday is easily the player that's always got to be there. So who else can it be, man?
Because I had the same first thought. I had literally the same thought process as you, which was, Cody is,
I think we may have lost Jordan. So I think I'm going to keep rolling this conversation by myself until we see him. So the other thing I did want to bring up was Linsanity. I thought about Linsanity and for Ryu, and as you guys all know, that I am a big fan of Ryu and a big supporter of him. But it wasn't necessarily that I think Ryu is invincible that I didn't want to replace him, but it's that Linsanity really doesn't seem to be comparably like a great mid lane player coming out of Academy. So for that reason, I didn't feel super comfortable having him in that spot. So I think it's got to be Rikara, which surprised me. But when I really started to step through the scenarios, I think Rikara is the choice. We'll see who they take. Maybe they want to just take Brandini for more experience or whatever, but I have a hard time with Someday not being in there. Obviously, so I think that's what it's going to be. Levi and Rikara. A couple other things before we finish up. Merch. So there's been some rumblings on the merch front again, which we're thrilled about because typically it's been such a long wait in between the merch drops. Well, Geography hoodies dropped like a little over a month ago or however long it's been. And we already are getting a jersey this Wednesday. So Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central. So that's like 3 p.m. if you're on the West Coast, 6 p.m. if you're on the East Coast. The jersey will be dropping. Now, this is a summer jersey, so it's not the spring jersey. I think they've got one additional sponsor, like Razor's an additional sponsor since then. And I think I heard a rumor that that the logos from the sponsors are going to be patched instead of the like screen printed on. So should be a cool product. I haven't seen a price point yet for it, so we'll see what that ends up being, but I definitely am planning on grabbing those. So we got the jersey drop coming in on Wednesday. Looks like, Jordan, do we have you back?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I cannot see you in the same glorious light and angle that we saw you before, but you're back to your old tricks, I see.
Yes.
So I'm running through the merch news right now. I just talked about the jersey drop that's coming up on Wednesday, so just in another couple days. They've also teased 2 different t-shirts on the Instagram and Twitter. So these are pictures of Nade wearing some t-shirts. This is all speculation. Those could be prototypes. Jordan, did you get a chance to see those at all?
I did see the t-shirts. Yeah.
I thought they were okay.
I mean, you don't get a good look head on.
Yeah, of course. Like they're just giving you little bits and pieces, but
it's got an old school feel.
Definitely the first one did. The one with like the flag thing, that's different. Yeah, the flag thing wasn't old school. I wasn't really in love with it. But the first one that like looked a little older that said 100 Thieves on it, like I'll be cool with that. Like I'm looking forward to buying that. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to having like t-shirts available, like something cheaper.
Yeah, I would get a t-shirt for sure.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And then there was also another shot of another geography piece. And
are you seeing all these on their Insta?
I'm seeing it on like streams and on their Instagram, Twitter, and then like, Reddit, Discords, places like that where they're being talked about. But this shot was of like, it's like close up of geography fabric, but it was like white printing on a red fabric. The fabric looked heavy. So my guess is maybe it's a crew neck or maybe like sweatpants or something. So yeah, it looked like a heavier kind of like woven fabric. So we'll see what that ends up being, but it's different because it was red with white instead of black with red.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens there and what develops. I'm still holding out for the cream hoodie, which I know will get stained like crazy, but I hope that ends up dropping, and I hope it drops reasonably soon. Hopefully, like where I live, outside of Nashville, so it's pretty hot here until November, but as long as I can get my hands on that, I will.
We need a fall piece, a fall drop for that.
So we'll let you know how the jersey drop goes at the next pod. So
yes.
So Jordan, now that we have you back, would you like to run through the next week in 100 Thieves action?
Yes, the next week in 100 Thieves action, which includes a game against Cloud9.
Which we thought was last week, and I think that's my fault. I think I just read the schedule wrong.
Did we? We talked about that.
Yeah, we were putting guesses forward for Cloud9. It was actually TSM that we were talking about.
No, I think that,
So for
predictions.
Me, I thought last week when I thought we were playing Cloud9, I thought we would win both games. I was right about Echo Fox, wrong about TSM. But I feel even less confident now because Cloud9 is on a tear, man. And holy moly, they are looking good. So I think we are going to drop to Cloud9.
And then Optic is our next game.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll say for Cloud9.
Yeah.
We have to. In my mind, it's a must-win game. So I'm gonna say we win.
So you when you say must win, you mean for the playoff bye?
No, I just think overall, big picture. Like I think that's a game. If we lose that, I think it's gonna sap our
it's a mojo game.
Our mindset. Yeah, it's a mojo game. Yeah, it's I guess technically it's not must win because we're in.
I get what you say. So it's like kind of the thought of, hey, we've lost to Team Liquid, we've lost to TSM, we've lost to Cloud9. Like, what are we doing at Worlds? Is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, and I think if you lose to those three, there's almost you run the risk of us starting to question whether we're a best of the rest team or do we really have a place amongst that kind of top tier elite in the league. So yeah, it's a big game, huge game. I think I said that TL was our biggest game of the split. This is our new biggest game of the split.
Yeah, contextually, this one's going to mean a lot. How about Optic?
Got him.
Yeah. They are not the same Optic.
They're not the same Optic. They're not bad.
They're not bad. And I think you pointed out earlier that it's would be a pseudo rivalry game for Nadeshot.
Yeah, big time.
Which was awesome in the spring split, how that played out. But this might end up being a big brother situation going in our favor. I think we're going to get the win. Yeah. So I think we split the week and go 1-1.
2-0. Going for it. I'll take the 2-0 responsibility this week. You took last week.
You are a bold man, my friend.
But someday, on the back of someday, you're going to smash Licorice, and then they're going to fall apart from there.
Someday is going to carry us all the way to Mordor. And with that, let's wrap up. Because we have exceeded our hour and 10 minutes. If you can believe that. Wow.
I'm going to blame it on my computer crashing.
Well, yes. And when you crash, you get banned for 5 minutes, and you know that. So
that's right.
Fortunately, you made it through most of the real back and forth.
My Q dodge. Anyway,
Yeah. All right. So thank you to everyone for listening.
Thanks again for the question.
Yeah, please subscribe where you can and comment where you can. And we're happy to tell you that we don't actually know what we're talking about. We just love the 100 Thieves. We just love it, and we're happy to talk about it. And yes, once again, praise be to Corrigan at KenTran310 for the Twitter question. He is in the Den of Thieves Hall of Fame permanently.
Yeah. Tattoo.
We love you, buddy. All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Tweet at us. Yeah, tweet at us more questions, thoughts, and we'll wrap the season up on the right note. And we'll be back next Sunday
on the 2-0 win, according to you. All right, everyone. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. Go Thieves.
All right. Take care.